close to his heart and stay close to his house. What an incredible message from Pastor Dill this morning as he wraps up the series, Get Your Life Back. Just three things I want to draw your attention to very quickly as before we jump into the wrap. I've got Pastors Mark and Cath Slev with me. I want to get some of their thoughts on the message and on the series as a whole. It's been an amazing series, and we head into a brand new series next week, and I don't want you to miss that. But I want you to, this little QR code will pop on the bottom of the screen right now. I'd love you to scan that code, because if you do so, it's going to take you to all the platforms you'll need to get any information you might require from the life of our church. There it is right now. You can jump up there. Just snap that. If you open your camera, you can just snap that code. It's going to take you to many things. But two things I'd love. One is if you have any prayer requests, we'd love to partner with you in prayer. We'd love to get alongside you in this season and to be praying with you. And also, if you have any stories to share with us, we want to hear your stories. We want to hear what God is doing in your life, because it encourages us and it encourages others. Drop the remote. Thanks, Cath. And the last thing is, if you give into the story of Linc Church, if you sow into this house financially, I want to encourage you to do so this morning. If you're on campus, there'll be some volunteers at the doors and some buckets. You can put your giving in there. Also, other multiple ways you can give, both in-house and online, is via Zapper or EFT. All the details are there if you scan the code. Alrighty, Mark and Cath Slev, great to have you guys with me on the wrap this morning.
Thank you, Dabsy.
Awesome to be back in the house together. What an amazing morning.
What an incredible morning. Yeah, I just love seeing many faces on campus, friends and family, and just a sense of, I don't know, just a real joy that we're back for the first time back in church.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cath, you had a good morning?
Fabulous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Fabulous.
I won't sing. That's one thing I draw the line on.
I'll give it a go.
Got some issues there. Yeah.
I just got a theory. If you don't sing well, sing loud.
It's like a whole lot of cats wailing.
Oh, so good. So good. Get Your Life Back. Been an amazing series. Mark, we were actually chatting last week, Cath and Amber and myself, and we were just saying, look, how well you and Tess have dovetailed through this series. Mark Stone dropped a little message in the middle of it. It's been a great series, actually, really helpful.
Yeah.
And an incredible thread right through the book of just getting close to God and being in His presence.
Yeah, I just love John Eldredge and his writing and just some of his thoughts. So I think just an invitation. I love what Dill said, just a reminder around the practices. So, you know, sometimes in this season, I think what we can't see nothing, but actually God wants to do something in us. And I think this whole series is about making room for God. And so I really feel like in an empty space where it feels like the world's gone mad, there's a grace, there's an inner work that God wants to do. And if our hearts get filled with more of Him, it changes everything. So
good.
Love that.
That is amazing. Yeah. Cath, any standouts for you? Maybe not on today's message, but just the series as a whole. Anything, just a thread or a theme that you feel like I was talking to you?
Well, I think Dill actually said it there. He said that there are certain practices. The practices are not about God, you know, what we have to do to get to God. It's more just the things that bring us closer to Him.
Yeah, so good.
So I think it's even like when he spoke about, I think it was about the vine. It's not about God cutting us and, you know, doing, it's actually more for our benefit than anything else. So I think this whole series has been about just turning your heart back to God, making space for Him, allowing Him to fill you up because He knows exactly what you need.
Yeah.
It's just turning your heart back to God and allowing Him to do what's needed for you in the season.
That's brilliant. And that it definitely has been a thread. It's actually just get back into the presence of God, understand what He's saying to you. I love there's a moment when Dill was actually preaching where he said, we're so consumed by what's going on around us. And he said, we're saying the right things, but we're not seeing the outcomes or the fruit. And what if we just started to put those principles and practices into our lives, and actually, once we start putting those in place, we actually start to see the fruits of our lives. That vine analogy is actually fantastic.
So
there's so much out of a vine that we can find in there.
Yeah, and just love that thought that Dill mentioned around how God comes to lift us up,
Yeah.
brings us back. Yeah, and I think to be honest, and this reality is that for many of us, we find ourselves in dry spaces just because of circumstance in life. But I think that it's not, what I loved about this message was the invitation for us to bring God our dry spaces. So it's, and then Jesus comes and lifts us up and restores, refreshes, brings life to very sometimes lifeless parts of our lives. And I think that was a moment where it really felt like God was speaking to me.
So good. I actually felt a moment in the message there where I felt God saying you can still be fruitful in dry seasons.
Yeah.
And I think we find ourselves in a dry season. When we find ourselves in a dry season, we feel like God stopped working on our behalf.
Yeah.
And we feel like He stops working on our behalf. We feel like we stop being fruitful. But even in dry seasons, even when tough times, we still feel like we can actually produce fruit. So I just felt God dropped that into me, saying, hey, even in dry seasons, we can still produce great fruit.
Yeah, and not about your own effort. That's what I love, is like, yeah, it's actually less about your own effort and more about leaning more into him, or just allowing him to do the work, or actually just saying, Lord, I give up. Yeah. I do say that quite often. Lord, I give up. This fruit is just shriveled.
That's a daily practice for me. Lord, I give up. Help me.
But I love that.
Like grapes have turned to raisins.
Yeah. I also love that Galatians 2, because that tells us what the fruit is. Because sometimes you ask the question, what does fruitfulness look like?
What does it look like?
And that was mentioned, Dill mentioned just love, joy, peace, patience, self-control, kindness. All those 7 or 9, I think it is, fruits of the Spirit. And I think it's often, you often judge fruit by, well, you look at fruit and you think it looks like something, but it's actually, it evolves from your spiritual work inside of us and overflows in our lives. And I think we're growing in God, and a good measure is to say, even in a dry season, we can be loving, patience, kind, self-control, all those things, kindness.
Oh, that's brilliant. And the good news is, if we're not producing fruit in season, God doesn't cut us off. He lifts us up.
You're not in the compost
heap.
All of
us.
So we don't have on the compost heap.
You remain in the vine, not the compost heap.
In the vine.
We get buried, but we still got life.
Come on, somebody.
Yes.
Unless a seed falls to the ground and dies.
Oh, yeah. Now we're preaching.
Basically, we win either way.
Basically, we win either way. I love that. Have you read the book of Revelation? No, I haven't. But in the end, Jesus wins.
I know.
Victory is certain. And I love that the pruning's only to bear fruit. There's tough times and hard seasons, but if we remain close to God, he'll remain close to us, and we'll see fruit start to come back into our lives.
And God only prunes what isn't bringing life.
So good.
Yeah. That horrible little weed.
Yes, get it out. Get rid of it. Cut off that branch. Fantastic. All right, let's get practical. What are you taking into Monday?
I think for me, it's that 2 things that Dill left with us is stay close to his heart and stay close to his house.
Awesome.
And I think staying close to his heart is just the invitation just to spend time with him, be a friend. And I think friendships are worked out, friendships grow over time. And I think just talking to him, talking to Jesus. And I think that's just a simple thing, just to talk to him and tell him where your dry space is, be open and honest with him. And I think God always moves on our behalf when we do that. It's just that he wants to be our friend. And then stay close to his house. I think if it's, for some people listening now, maybe staying close to his house might be joining a small group. It might be come and join us at serving on a Sunday.
So good.
Look at where, I think the good thing about this is it's for our benefit. And God, there's benefit in us serving others. The greatest life we can live is in service. And so I think as a church, maybe what would it look like for you, for us to move from being, I love to be a spectator sometimes, but how can I participate? How do I take my gift and use it for others? And I think that brings us the greatest joy. So maybe for someone today, it's going, well, how do I do that? And there are many options that we'd love to help you in the church to make a next step and help you on your journey with God.
Awesome. And just to back on the end of that is that if you'd like to take that next step, if you want to get close to his house and you're not sure how to do that, there's a little QR code at the bottom of the screen right now. If you snap that code, it'll take you to a page where you can get involved in life at church, whether it be small groups, whether it be serving, joining triads and getting in community. But we're not built for isolation, I can tell you that. And sometimes in dry seasons, in tough seasons, we need people around us that are going to cheer us on, encourage us, get behind us. And staying close to God's heart's going to give us fuel for the inside. But staying close to those around us is going to put courage in us to move forward. So I love that. Cath, what are you taking into Monday?
Actually just asking myself the question, what are you full of?
So good.
Because, again, like what Mark said, is to serve others, but sometimes we just feel like you haven't got it in you to do it. But I think when you're full of God, like we were speaking about earlier, the overflow, it just naturally happens. So I think offer God your really dry spaces and ask him just to fill it up, because out of that, I think in this week, maybe it's just one thing. We all know where we dry.
What are you full of, and how can you get close to God in moments? Starting to ask him to fill those dry spaces. That is brilliant. I love the thought that we sometimes look to our friends for encouragement, but they dry too.
As a bone.
Yeah, dry as a bone. But I wonder what it would look like even for me in a dry season to just drop that friend an SMS and encourage him, or to speak life September into someone's heart when I do see them in a moment, or once a day this week I'm going to be intentional about just speaking life into someone's situation, whether it be online, whether it be a WhatsApp, or whether it be in person. Just find a way. Even though we dry, we can still bear great fruit.
I
Get
agree
close
with
to
you.
God and speak
Because
life.
actually, often it's just a message. It doesn't mean you have to download a scripture.
Correct.
It's just, I thought of you,
Yeah,
and
someone just
how
checking.
are
Yeah,
you?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Come on. Stay close to God's heart and stay close to his house. Get Your Life Back has been the most phenomenal series. And I want to encourage you that if you've missed any of them, please jump onto YouTube. They're all available. Some incredible messages, some practical handles. And it's actually a relationship series, a relationship between you and God, a friendship that I believe as we journey with him, as we get close to his heart, he does something from the inside out. And the circumstance around us doesn't affect us in any way. So thanks so much for joining us for church this morning. It's been incredible to have some people back in the auditorium. Thanks for joining us online, wherever you've joined us from. And if there's anything we can do or any way we can help you move forward in faith, please scan the code, jump online, get in contact with us. We want to journey with you in this journey of faith. Have an amazing week. We'll catch you next week. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.